Greetings to you and welcome back to your stable friend. That's me. Let's just go right into what we're going to talk about today. I was fascinated to find out that someone who is running around on social media calling themselves an equine welfare advocate has absolutely no problem with the use of stud chains. I guess known to you youngsters as nose chains. I feel like nose chain sounds kind of like nose ring or a chain, and it takes away the more aggressive sound of the word stud chain, where the word stud chain makes one think of some unruly breeding stallion who's in a frenzy of hormones and needs to be controlled, and so you have to put the chain on him, and it all sounds kind of aggressive. Nose chain, stud chain, necklace, whatever you want to call it, it's still a chain that is going over a very delicate and soft part of the horse's face. It is a tool of force. It is not a tool of communication. It is a tool of control. And I asked this particular person posing as an advocate, why? I just used the word why with a question mark. And they got extremely defensive, and before I knew it, we didn't even have an exchange of words. The only thing I got to say was why, and the next thing I knew I was blocked, which is very telling to me. When you don't want to have a conversation, when you don't want to have a dialogue, you just want to say what you have to say and then end the conversation, that I don't think is someone who is in their heart a teacher, in their heart a true advocate, in their heart someone who is really wanting to facilitate change. That's someone who is interested in themselves and how they look to others. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. I think that a true advocate will always want to discuss the why and the how and the where and the what, and really get into, the depth of why we do the things that we do as equestrians, how we're going to change them, and talk about the psychology of why we do them. And when this person was defending their use of the stud chains, the terminology, it was so gaslighting. First, the funniest thing is that she said the words never, I will never not use them. I will always, think that it's better and safer to use them. And it's so funny because just, 8 years ago or so, this person was saying never and always about things like bits and whips and different things, and they've certainly changed their mind since then. All I wanted to write back was, let's always be careful as equestrians and as people who want to grow, never to use the word never and always, because if we're going to be open to change and growth and really do our best to be advocates for and welfare advocates for animals, equines, what have you, we have to always be growing and evolving and seeing different points of view. So the best part was the safety factor, and it was so Kool-Aid, it was so gaslighty. It is safer. I wouldn't want the children that I teach to be dragged over to a grass patch with an unruly horse. This is a matter of safety and control. Well, first of all, as an equine advocate for equine welfare, we want to try to not use the word control so much. The word control is what got horses in trouble in the first place. So we want to try to change that C word into another C word. No, not the one you're thinking. Control for communication. Control for communication. We want to use the word communicate rather than control. And when we use the word communicate, when we really press ourselves to use the word communicate, we then have to understand that our training is communication. When we use an article of control like a stud chain or a bit, a whip, a spur, anything like that, we are using an article of control. That's not communicating. That's us communicating. That's a one-way communication. That's, you do this, I say so, here I am forcing you through this article that will cause you discomfort. Communication comes when you don't have an article of force. You actually have to communicate. You actually have to figure out why, how, and what you're going to suggest to the horse to cooperate with you on a certain issue. So I believe this person's issue was they were taking a horse that was green to their first horse show, and they had to use the chain to keep themselves and the horse safe. Well, here's my question. If you are taking a green horse to a horse show, and the only way that you're going to feel safe with the horse is by using a chain, then I don't think that horse is ready to go to a horse show. If the only way to get that horse there and for you and the horse to feel safe is by using an article that will cause pain on a very sensitive part of the horse's face, then I don't think you have any business being there with that horse. I think you have plenty of time. Why again? I always ask the same question. Why are we in such a rush? Why can't that horse have another year before it has to get dragged along to a horse show? Why does it have to go and wear a chain? That's my question. Why can't it wait another year so it doesn't have to wear a chain? Okay, so back to the safety issue, because I think this is just funny. Let's face it, people. Being an equestrian, there's nothing safe about it. And if you're looking for a safe sport, this is not your sport. I mean, go play pickleball, take up knitting, paint, do anything else. But do not be an equestrian if you are looking for safety or think that you can be safe with a 1,000-pound animal that operates on flight when it has fright. You're never going to be safe. And we have to understand that as equestrians. And a chain is not going to make you safe. A chain is going to add insult to injury, or injury to insult, both, all the way around, a cycle of injury and insult. When a situation gets bad and you have to apply that chain, A, it probably won't work anyway, and then you have a really bad situation on your hand. I thought I would just Google so I would have some information for you for this video. Oh my God, terrible accidents have occurred by horses getting loose with a stud chain on. I'm not even going to go into it. Just use your imagination. It's the Murphy's Law of horses. If you can imagine a horrible, frightening thing that you don't even want to think about happening, it can happen, and it has happened to somebody. The last thing you want is a green horse at a horse show running around loose with a stud chain on its face for a million reasons. So, let's backtrack a little bit. Safety? Really? I don't think so. Security? Children? Should a child be given a horse in a stud chain? If a child is going to walk a horse in a stud chain, I don't think that's a horse that a child should be walking. If that horse needs a stud chain to respectfully walk by a patch of grass, maybe the child doesn't walk that particular horse. Maybe that's not the horse for a child to walk. Why is it always, I want to do what I want to do, so you have to wear the stud chain? I can't wait until you are more comfortable and more secure in the world, horse, to where you don't need the chain, and we can communicate about, I would like you not to go to the grass right now, or I need you to walk quietly in a strange environment with me at a horse show. Why don't we wait until our horses can do those things, rather than having to put a painful article of force on a beautiful soft part of the horse's face? And if you're putting it on there, that means you're willing to use it. And if you're willing to use it, then you better admit right now that it only works because it hurts. Because that's the only reason it works. It hurts. This person said one of the craziest things I've ever heard. It sets a mood. Oh, it's a mood setter. Like candles and incense. It sets a mood. It sets a mood? What kind of gaslighting BS is that? It sets a mood? Yeah, it sets a mood all right. It sets a mood to make your horse into an enemy. I have a wonderful gelding. Where is he? He's here. He's right here. Over 17 hands. Off the track thoroughbred. His father is a racehorse who is notorious for being a rogue. bucking off jockeys, jumping over into the infield to graze. I mean, he's got a lot of, let's just call it spirit. And he was a handful. He was a handful. And do you know what happened when someone suggested to me, oh, I think you'd both be a lot safer with a stud chain on? I'm like, oh, okay, you know, everybody's saying, you know, he's such a handful, I better put the stud chain on. And we're talking 15 years ago. First day in the stud chain, put the chain on. The second he got a little bit frisky, he felt the pressure and he reared. That horse had never reared before. All of a sudden now, I have a horse who never even thought of rearing is now rearing because of the stud chain. Look, he's 29 years old right now. I have a 17 hand thoroughbred off the track. My student has an over 17 hand, massive Mack truck of a thoroughbred. He's 4 years old. He doesn't need a stud chain. It's about the training. It is not about the equipment. And if you don't have the time to do the training because you're too busy doing all kinds of other things, then don't take that green horse to the horse show. Just let it sit in the field while you're doing your other stuff. Don't always make the horse suffer for the human. If the horse isn't ready to go and the only way it can go is by wearing the stud chain, don't take it. If the horse can only be walked by a child with a stud chain on, don't let the child lead that horse. If you're depending on a stud chain for control, then you are not communicating. Do I need to go on? I think I've probably clearly made my point. It works because it hurts. It is not a training tool. It is an article of force, and it has no purpose being on the beautiful, soft nose of a horse, of a noble, beautiful, generous, sentient, sensitive creature. And if you can't see that, then I don't understand how you could consider yourself to be someone who would be advocating for the welfare of the horse. My opinion. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Throw your stud chain away. Better yet, save it to hang a bucket or latch a gate. They're very handy, just not on a horse's nose. See you next time.